God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has everybody, sometimes He has set me free. I feel so good. God has smiled on me. Oh yeah. Good to me. One more time. Yeah. Smiled on me. Every day of my life, I feel it. He gives me strength and energy. Help me to sing. He's been good to me. Oh yeah.
This is Reverend Sharpton of Brooklyn, New York. I've been traveling around the country talking to the radio announcers, the church people, and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body, if He woke you up this morning and started you on your way. And I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say,
God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me.
then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepped into the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God done smile on us.
God, let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. One more time. I want to say it real slow. I'll say God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Pick it up. God has smiled on me. He's been good.
Then I went on by backstage at the Apollo Theater and I saw a man come out. They call him the King of Soul, James Brown. And James Brown said, Reverend, don't you worry. I started out as a
Hi, I'm
shoeshine boy.
Reverend Al Sharpton, President of National Action Network. August 28th, 1963, there were many that gathered in Washington for the historic March on Washington. And many of us grew up hearing the speech Dr. King gave that day, I Have a Dream. But in that speech, he talked about America giving the Negro, blacks, a check that is bounced in the bank of history. So this August 28th, Thursday leading into Labor Day weekend, we that usually go to Washington to commemorate, we're having the Memorial March on Wall Street. Why are you going to Wall Street, Reverend Al? Because the people that have benefited from the check bouncing on Medicaid with this big, beautiful bill that took SNAP from people that need food assistance, they're on Wall Street, trading every day, doing the stock market every day. When is the last time we've had a mass march, nonviolent but determined, right there where they know, we know who you are, and we will not support the companies that undermine and finance our being destabilized. Join me, the National Action Network, and Martin Luther King III, August 28th, 10 a.m. We're going to march from the African burial ground just 1 mile to the Bull in the middle of Wall Street and have our rally. I want the faith community particularly to be there. Dr. King always built from the church. We need to be a witness in these times. People say, Reverend Al, I'm tired of marching. I say, what's the last march you've been to? Most of you never marched. This is your time to show up and stand up. God bless
you. Of reference. 400 years later, it's time to do some assessing where we came from. While Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina, Mississippi take the hits, the real trade market for commerce and cotton was New York, the port of New York. As a matter of fact, Joe, the first state to end slavery was Vermont. It was all the way up the coast. The big shipbuilders became rich off of our enslavement. Say our people are not slaves, they are our ancestors. They became slaves, the person, they're our ancestors, they're our foreparents. The money is made off of the commodity. We were the commodity in the commodity exchange. And they would import Africans. They export cotton and tobacco. And they built the whole economic system around Wall Street. Africans, because they feared the Indians would attack the Dutch, built a wall on Wall Street. That's why they named it Wall Street. It's the Africans, with logs and trees, they built a wall around Wall Street, keep the Indians from attacking the Dutch. So Wall Street was named after us. There's a burial ground on Wall Street, which we should all visit. Those are our foreparents. At some point, they moved us to the other end of Manhattan, which is Harlem. So we are on the same island as Manhattan.
Leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
Wall Street, on the same island.
You're loud, sir.
It's Monday, August 25th. Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton's time. And for the next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, all fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country. Good morning to our West Coast listeners. And welcome to those listening on Sirius XM, Channel 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York. You can join the conversation by calling us at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Or you can go to our message page at nationalactionnetwork.net. Izzy Martin is on it saying, greetings from Selma, Alabama. She's already on the message page. She said, I really enjoyed Politics Nation both Saturday and Sunday. Keep up the great fight. Well, thank you, Izzy Martin, and glad you watched both nights. We try to do what needs to be done on Politics Nation. Bruce Turner is saying, stop talking loud and rise up. It's on us to make this happen and make a difference, he's saying. And Darryl Prunty is saying, fight fire with fire, make America, Gavin America, the new MAGA symbol for the Democrats. And lots been going on over the weekend, and that's why on Mondays we say that we open up the phone lines as well as our message board and say whatever is on your mind, whatever's in your heart, we open it up for you to talk about the issues, your concerns, things you may have noticed over the weekend and had no way of getting it out. Well, you can get it out, get it out, get it out. It's Hot Button Monday on politics, on economy, on the takeover of cities by the National Guard, on everything. I see the mayor's checking in. Mayor Rodney Jones, the Queensbridge Houses, is checking in. So a lot of our good afternoon, good morning. Barbara Haynes Warren saying good morning from Las Vegas. All right. We have a strong chapter in National Action Network there. So I want to hear from you. I mean, I think that it goes without saying Trump has escalated this whole takeover of cities. He is now having some of the National Guard be able to be armed in Washington. He says he's going next to Chicago. Now, most of you know I was in Washington yesterday. I preached the morning service at Howard University for Rankin Chapel. They had it in the Crampton Auditorium. Hundreds of people came out. It was really good. And they're going to have a couple of buses coming from Howard to the march here Thursday. People from around the country are coming. We buses all over the place coming now. And we're going to march not only about DEI, but marching about these takeover of our cities and the redistricting. So a lot is on the table, and I'm telling you that people talk about, well, I wasn't there back in the day. Well, you back in the day again when they can shuffle up district lines for voting. And people don't know when you look at what has been voted on in Texas and signed by Abbott, I believe he signed it today, that will take away several black congressional seats while they are trying to, and while they're outlining seats that will be given the advantage of having 5 more Republican seats. They're cutting out major parts of the Jasmine Crockett congressional seat, where she could literally lose her seat. They're cutting out parts of the other seats they're represented by blacks. So this is not only going to try to give a disadvantage to the Republicans in terms of increasing the number, this is going to wipe out some black representation. So even if what Gavin Newsom is doing, and I salute what he's doing, I think it's the right thing to do, even if he's successful in balancing out and getting 5 additional seats Democrat, or at least the areas lean Democrat in California, and Governor Hochul will do the same thing in New York, it will not replace, if we lose Jasmine Crockett, it will not replace the blacks we lose in Texas. These people have declared absolute political war. And some of us are not fighting. And when I was so encouraged seeing all those students at Howard yesterday saying that, I'm coming up to the march, because all this woofing and talking and slogans and hashtags, you need to put some bodies on the street right in front of these billionaires so they know, wait a minute, these people are serious. There's real discontent. I was saying to some of the young people, I met after the service for about an hour with some of the student leaders. They had a brunch for them. And I told him, I said, a lot of y'all are into hashtag activism, and that's good. But every once in a while, you got to do some physical marching. Because let me tell you something, the people that control the purse strings, that are financing the end of DEI, that are financing the redistricting fights, that are financing this whole thing with taking over cities, they are not on your social media feed. They're not reading your hashtag. But if you march out in front of their office, they understand that. That's why Thursday is so important. Because you can't assume that you put something on social media that they're going to therefore be going to your social media. I don't think so. In fact, I know so. Because a lot of them I don't follow myself. I don't know them to follow. So let's be a little more circumspect than that. So I want to hear from everybody. Definitely, there's so much going on between the redistricting, between the takeover of cities, all black. I was on Morning Joe 2 hours this morning. I didn't land from Washington until very late because I did Politics Nation from Washington. But I got up, I was in studio 5:30, going live 6 to 8 this morning. And I'm energized. I'm ready to roll all the way through Thursday. And what energizes me, people hit me from everywhere. Yeah, we got a bus. We got a bus load. We coming from Ohio. We coming from Florida's got a couple of buses. Coming from Atlanta, Georgia. Coming from Tallahassee, Florida, as I said. Coming from Tennessee. Many from North Carolina. Many from Baltimore. This is a time. All right, Jamai says, good morning, Rev. I'm from San Jose, California. I'll be at the march on August 28th. Now, I like that. Is it Jamal C? You make sure you come up and introduce yourself to me. Somebody coming all the way from San Diego, I want to meet you. And I think that Franklin Malone says, the godfather of the DMV will be in the march on the 28th fight. I love it. Franklin Malone, godfather. I want some of y'all, I talk to y'all on the radio, I don't know what you look like. I want y'all to just come up and tell them, wait a minute, Reverend Al wants to meet me. I want to be able to put a face behind it and know we are doing with it. And we got democracy.fund, and they've been really conscious. I like democracy.fund. They call every day with good information. So we got an Airbnb in Brooklyn coming from Philly. I like that. All right, I like that. Well, let's get ready to take a break. I'm going to come right back. Keeping it real, I want to line up your phone calls at 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton. Keeping it real. Be right back.
Of reference. 400 years later, it's time to do some assessing where we came from. While Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina, Mississippi take the hits, the real trade market for commerce and cotton was New York. The port of New York. As a matter of fact, Joe, the first state to end slavery was Vermont. It was all the way up the coast. The big shipbuilders became rich off of our enslavement. Say our people are not slaves. They are our ancestors. They became slaves to the person. They're our ancestors. They're our foreparents. The money is made off of the commodity. We were the commodity in the commodity exchange. And they would import Africans They export cotton and tobacco. And they built the whole economic system around Wall Street. Africans, because they feared the Indians would attack the Dutch, built a wall on Wall Street. That's why they named it Wall Street. It's the Africans, with logs and trees, they built a wall around Wall Street to keep the Indians from attacking the Dutch. So Wall Street was named after us. There's a burial ground on Wall Street, which we should all visit. Those are our foreparents. At some point, they moved us to the other end of Manhattan, which is Harlem. So we are on the same island as Manhattan. Manhattan, Harlem, Wall Street, on the same island. Harlem is right down the road from Wall Street. That's interesting that most of our leaders who argued different cases never quite got to march on Wall Street.
That was Reverend Jesse Jackson speaking at National Action Network's House of Justice in 2020, saying that we ignored dramatizing, putting the spotlight on the economic inequalities, the economic issues of this country by never having marched on Wall Street en masse. Well, on August 28th, 5 years later, we're going to do just that. Because with this big, beautiful bill, which is a big, ugly bill that cuts Medicaid and SNAP, with the ending of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and initiatives in the private sector, which gives blacks and others jobs, contracts for businesses, making sure we make the C-suite based on our merit and not excluded because we didn't have the family background in a given place, whether it be academic or business. The people that benefited from that are the ones on Wall Street that deal with the stock markets, that deal with the Dow Jones, that deal with making trade off of the decisions of those that supported the Trump initiatives in this area. So we are not this year going to Washington on the anniversary of the March on Washington. On the anniversary of the March on Washington, we're going to Wall Street. And Reverend Jackson, we're going to do what you said. Thousands of us are going to nonviolently but firmly come and say that the dream cannot be deferred by tax cuts for the rich and cutting those out that need food assistance, that need support with health care and other economic policies that have choked the middle class and the poor. August 28, 2025, go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, get the details. Meet us 10 a.m. at the African Burial Ground and be ready to march. Buses are coming from all over the country. Go to that website or call 1-877-626-4651. No justice, no peace.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to know.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want tonight. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. As we prepare to march this Thursday, the 62nd anniversary of the March on Washington, it's the first time Martin Luther King III and I have taken it out of Washington, where we've been doing it since 2000, 25 years. We've done it every 5 years. Because of the egregious nature of what's going on in the Trump administration, from the National Guard in cities to the bias in terms of DEI, ending that, and the deportations that is racially profiled against the Latino community. And as long as we've been doing these, the Janet McGreer, who has been like a sister, beloved movement sister, who's now the president and CEO of Unidos, the nation's largest Latino civil rights and advocacy organization, has been with us and will be with us on Thursday as we march on Wall Street. Why Wall Street? Because they're financing a lot of the rallying around deportation and around DEI and around the takeover of cities. So we going to right where the pocketbook is. No spotlight has been put on them. I have on the live line my sister and friend Janet Morgria. How you doing, Janet?
Doing fine, Reverend Al. It's really a pleasure to be on with you and to know that we're going to be together on Thursday as we march on Wall Street. And as we've marched together, as you mentioned, I know you and I have been together at some of these marches, both in Washington and on Wall Street. And I'm just really honored to be joining you today, as I will be on Thursday.
Now, tell our audience around the country the whole racial profiling in this deportation efforts. I mean, is alarming to me that it's not even being brought up more in the media, and because they're literally saying that people that look Latino or dark, just pick them up, and you almost are found guilty of being here illegally till you prove yourself innocent. You could be incarcerated for weeks.
You're absolutely right, Reverend Al. What we're seeing happening that has not received the full attention from the media that we'd like to see, especially as we look at not only what's happening in California, now starting to happen in other cities and states, is that contrary to what President Trump said, that, you know, they would target immigration enforcement actions to really really look at folks who were criminals, those who would present any public harm and threat to public safety. But what we're seeing is that these aggressive and unlawful enforcement actions are not about securing our border, and they're not targeting criminals. These actions and the very way in which they're doing them, Reverend Al, is really also what's alarming. These are agents, but they're showing up masked and unidentified in unmarked cars. They're kind of randomly roving patrols in different neighborhoods. They do not have often warrants or a basis for which to apprehend anyone, but yet what we're seeing is that they are aimed at very specific communities, Latinos and immigrants especially, and they are literally taking these folks, not charging them, not telling them where they're taking them to in detention centers, and family members are not able to access them, and they don't have access to counsel. They're literally being disappeared, and we're having to exercise all these resources to track these individuals down. And again, they're picking them up not, in any, they're picking them up as these individuals are in workplaces. They're picking up when they're going to health appointments or to actually drop their kids off at schools. These folks are not being targeted because they are criminals that have committed any harm. The vast majority are just showing up to try to do the work that they've been doing and contributing to the local economies. So these actions are meant to scare us and diminish our presence in this country, either by attacking us directly or frightening many into self-deportations. And what we know, and I know, Reverend Al, you and others in the Black Legacy Civil Rights Organization leadership have joined us because we're calling this out, because we see this as an abuse of power and government overreach. It's not about immigration enforcement anymore. We're seeing an evisceration of due process and civil rights, and that should be a concern for everyone, because really it's racial profiling. We've had a federal court case that has already shown and demonstrated evidence that there is no basis on which they're picking up and actually taking these folks away. And that breakdown in due process and government overreach really is a threat to all of us. And I'm just grateful for the Black-Brown unity that has been demonstrated in this, because I think we see this as what it really is, a threat to all Americans, because we're seeing U.S. citizens getting picked up in these actions. So I really appreciate the partnership that we've had over the years, but especially now with these kinds of threats to our due process and to our civil rights.
No doubt about it, and that's why we must stay together visibly. And I remind people that they tried to divide the black and brown community, saying that they were taking our jobs, and they've deported wrongfully in most cases thousands of people this year, and black unemployment went up. So that shows you how bogus that is. But Janet, let me ask you, Kilmar Obago Garcia was rearrested today. What insight can you give us on that case?
Yeah, this is something that we have been very concerned with. When he was first picked up, and this has now been earlier this year, what we saw is, again, there was no specific charge raised against Kilmar Obago Garcia, and yet he was taken without access to counsel, without letting his family members know, and he was taken to a Salvadoran prison, and basically the highest court in the land agreed unanimously that it needed to rectify this grave error by bringing him home to his American family. And what it showed us is that every individual, regardless of immigration status, per the Constitution, is entitled to due process. You can't just pick up someone and take them away without some sort of due process. And so here, this person who was going about his business woke up one day and now is in a different country, has been, we've really tried to rally, a number of folks have rallied to get him legal support, legal counsel. The courts ruled in his favor, and finally he was brought back home. And now the Trump administration it seems to be very obsessed with this individual, even though they have not made a case for him with any sort of rationale in the legal system. And so we're seeing refusal to assume responsibility and correct this legal mistake. And now once he did come back and he is here, it looks like they're going to start all over again. This is really costly.
Right.
And yet they've not been able to demonstrate any what the actual actions that he took that were out of the law, outside the law, and now he's being held over again. So it's really the worst example of Trump administration overreach and its harmful approach to immigration and its cruel methods to separate families, including those of U.S. citizen-born children. So we're really going to be needing the courts and Congress to ensure that due process and the rule of law are respected and protected and upheld for everyone in our nation. So we'll keep following this case, but it does feel like it's an abuse of power and government overreach and a real obsession that this Trump administration has with this individual without charging him officially.
Well, we're going to be with you. Thank you for coming on. I'll see you Thursday at the March, and we will continue to work together. Let us thank our sister beloved, the head of UNIDOS, Janet Murguia. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back. Hi, I'm Reverend Al Sharpton, president of National Action Network. August 28th, 1963. There were many that gathered in Washington for the historic March on Washington. And many of us grew up hearing the speech Dr. King gave that day, I Have a Dream. But in that speech, he talked about America giving the Negro, blacks, a check that is bounced in the bank of history. So this August 28th, Thursday leading into Labor Day weekend, we that usually go to Washington to commemorate, we're having the Memorial March on Wall Street. Why are you going to Wall Street, Reverend Al? Because the people that have benefited from the check bouncing on Medicaid with this big, beautiful bill that took SNAP from people that need food assistance. They're on Wall Street, trading every day, doing the stock market every day. When is the last time we've had a mass march, nonviolent but determined, right there where they know, we know who you are, and we will not support the companies that undermine and finance our being destabilized. Join me, the National Action Network, and Martin Luther King III, August 28th, 10 a.m. We're going to march from the African burial ground just 1 mile to the Bull in the middle of Wall Street and have our rally. I want the faith community particularly to be there. Dr. King always built from the church. We need to be a witness in these times. People say, Reverend Al, I'm tired of marching. I say, what's the last march you've been to? Most of you've never marched. This is your time to show up and stand up. God bless you.
I want to ask you a question, and that is, what is in your life's blueprint? This is the most important and crucial period of your lives, for what you do now and what you decide now at this age may well determine which way your life shall go. And whenever a building is constructed, you usually have an architect who draws a blueprint. And that blueprint serves as the pattern, as the guide, as the model for those who are to build the building. And a building is not well erected without a good, sound, and solid blueprint. Now each of you is in the process of building the structure of your lives. And the question is whether you have a proper, a solid, and a sound blueprint. And I want to suggest some of the things that should be in your life's blueprint. Number one in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance.
What do we want? It's been a long time coming, but I know
1968, Dr. Martin Luther King was killed in Memphis, Tennessee. And it has been the commitment of National Action Network to always, in the month he was killed, to let them know they killed the dreamer.
I have a dream today.
They can't kill the dreamer. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Sharpton. And we're back 1-877-532-5797. It is Hot Button Monday. And let me say that I didn't give away of announcements because of Janet. And I'm going to the phones, and I think we're going to have one more of our co-chairs on. But let me say, don't forget, watch Politics Nation every Saturday and Sunday. We had two great shows this weekend. And we're going to, next weekend, Labor Day weekend, deal with what happened at the march. We have some of the notables that were there at the march. So the march is the beginning of a drive, not the end. Make sure you watch Politics Nation this Saturday and Sunday coming, and thank you for you that watched it yesterday and the day before. I'm joined now when we talked about having the march. As I said, since 2000, every 5 years, Martin III and I have had these commemoration marches, but not to commemorate, but to say what is the state of the dream. We've always had them at Lincoln Memorial in Washington. Even in 2020, during the pandemic, we had about 200,000 people. And this year, we wanted to go to Wall Street because those are the people that are financing the whole drive against DEI, that are financing the whole drive against progressive moves in this country around deportation and around sending National Guards into cities, all of our civil liberties questions. I cannot think of any time in the last 25 years that Martin and I have done this. In the first year, Mrs. King herself introduced us in Washington. I can't think of any year in the last 25 years that our partner was not Randi Weingarten, the head of the American Federation of Teachers. I think when we started, she was the head of the United Federation of Teachers in New York. But whatever position she held, she's leaned in, I should say, with her members and resources. And she was the first one to say, let's do this on Wall Street. I'm in, and it's organized teachers, and it's going to go blend right into the weekend of protests that culminates on Monday, Labor Day. And I have her on the live line, my little sister, the president of the American Federation of Teachers, Randi Weingarten. How you doing, Randi?
I'm good, Reverend. I think you just made clear just how many decades both of us have been in this fight.
Yeah. Well, I think people know that by now. I know you said we pretending.
Yeah.
We've been out here a minute. But tell us why.
A minute or two.
Yeah, a minute or two. Tell us why this is more egregious that we're facing now, because you and I have been out here, and I've never seen anyone as blatant as Trump with all the civil liberties, which is why Thursday is important, and the whole weekend of protest is important, just as No Kings, which you were critical in, was important. We get consistency on this is vital.
Absolutely. So, if you think about the arc, and what you and Martin are doing is so important in terms of going to Wall Street. Okay, that intel that President Trump took 10% of Intel's worth today,
right.
and is actually, instead of there being a real check and balance between political power and economic power, they are very much trying to merge the two. And no better an example of that is than what happens on Wall Street and what happened with the so-called, big beautiful bill, which was it was big but not beautiful, that passed in July. And what we're seeing here in these United States of America, and you see it in terms of the way in which people, perceive the last couple of elections, is that the American dream, the dream that King talked about on the original March on Washington, seems more and more and more elusive. And in fact, instead of being a place that is really fighting for jobs and justice, which is what King talked about, which is what Bayard Rustin talked about, which is what A. Philip Randolph talked about in the March on Washington, the original one in '63, what we're seeing is that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, and there is more income inequality. And that bill basically was the biggest transfer of wealth from poor to rich than we've seen, not even just since the Gilded Age, we've seen through American history. So marching on Wall Street is about the accountability to the people from Wall Street, because Wall Street and unfortunately this government are tied together more and more and more. And who suffers? The people suffer. Middle class people suffer. Working class people suffer. Poor people suffer. And the American dream, the idea that if you work hard and play by the rules, you and your family will do better the next generation than this generation. Opportunity, affordability, dignity, all of that suffers. And the last thing I'll say is, and when we lose our civil rights, then we lose the right to agitate about this. We lose the right to speak about this. We lose the right to protest about this. So these things are, it's not just the erasure of history. It's not just the shifting of policy from poor and middle class and aspiring and working class to rich, but it's taking away the tools that we have to protest all of this.
And as you lead one of the largest unions, teachers union, AFT, talk about the fact that as school is reopening, and we are seeing teachers now subjected to whether they are going to have ICE come in their classrooms and try to deport people, whether we're going to see National Guard in the cities where they have to try to teach students. I mean, you are on the front line of where there's imminent danger.
Exactly right. And so let me, to all of the your listeners, regardless of whether you voted for Harris, you voted for Trump, you sat on the sidelines, think about what's going on right now. Teachers themselves, we are between 4, maybe 5, or they send their we sit instead of Harris. That means we have a child and that family to make sure that they're, not just to make sure they're learning, not just to make sure that they're engaged, but to make sure that they're safe, to make sure that we create a welcoming environment. So this is not just about immigrants. This is about every family expects that of us. So, of course, we have to be out there regardless of whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, a conservative, a liberal. You can't have a masked person walk into a school and say, I'm taking Johnny. We have to stand up against that and think about what that does to all kids. Think about what that does not only to an immigrant family who's scared to death right now. They've done everything they were supposed to do, and now they're thinking their kid is going to be taken by ICE, taken from a soccer field. And think about what that says to every other kid in every other family. How do you keep kids safe when you can't protect them against an ICE agent walking into a school or a National Guard person with a gun in the streets of Washington where I am today? So this notion of what the president is doing right now is creating fear everywhere for no good reason whatsoever. Do all of us want crime to go down? Yeah, well, of course we do. But we want to make sure that in places that have actually done that work, let's help them. Let's help New York. Let's help New Jersey. Let's help Chicago. Let's help Baltimore. In Chicago, crime has gone down. Major crimes have gone down 30% this year. We should be helping Mayor Johnson. We should be helping Mayor Bowser, not creating fear at the beginning of this school year. It's outrageous. It's an outrageous abdication of moral responsibility to our children and families.
Randi Weingarten, president of the American Federation of Teachers and a co-chair for Thursday's March on Wall Street. Thank you for being with us, Randi. Looking for you on Thursday. All right. And I'm getting ready to take a break, and I'm going to the phones and to the messages. Let me, I saw one message. I want, what is this? Selmore FUHD. Says, Reverend Al, I'm from Cleveland, but how are you a reverend and you don't have a church? Well, you don't understand what a reverend is. Billy Graham never had a church, and he was the biggest minister in the country. Ministry is based on what you do. My ministry is in social justice. I preach at a church every week, like I did at Howard University yesterday. But Billy Graham, in fact, Dr. King gave up his church in Montgomery and went back to help his father because he couldn't do civil rights and church at the same time. Jesse Jackson never pastored a church. So I come out of a lineage of people that their ministry is not between four walls. Their ministry is out there protecting those people who need their four walls protected. That's the ministry. And by the way, Jesus never pastored a temple. He went in the highways and byways. I figured I'd clear that up because I assume you asked it in the proper spirit. I give you the benefit of the doubt. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. That's what I do. Sharpton, that's my name. Be right back.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you're very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
Racial discord, a blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
and I had to know,
yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself. and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me, and it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustling, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor, who stayed right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
Tony.
You got it? My daughter won a Tony Award.
That's crazy.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Reverend Al Sharpton, president of National Action Network. August 28th, 1963, there were many that gathered in Washington for the historic March on Washington. And many of us grew up hearing the speech Dr. King gave that day, I Have a Dream. But in that speech, he talked about America giving the Negro, blacks, a check that is bounced in the bank of history. So this August 28th, Thursday leading into Labor Day weekend, we that usually go to Washington to commemorate, we're having the Memorial March on Wall Street. Why are you going to Wall Street, Reverend Al? Because the people that have benefited from the check bouncing on Medicaid with this big, beautiful bill that took SNAP from people that need food assistance, they're on Wall Street, trading every day, doing the stock market every day. When is the last time we've had a mass march, nonviolent but determined, right there where they know, we know who you are, and we will not support the companies that undermine and finance our being destabilized. Join me, the National Action Network, and Martin Luther King III, August 28th, 10 a.m. We're going to march from the African burial ground just 1 mile to the Bull in the middle of Wall Street and have our rally. I want the faith community particularly to be there. Dr. King always built from the church. We need to be a witness in these times. People say, Reverend Al, I'm tired of marching. I say, what's the last march you've been to? Most of you've never marched. This is your time to show up and stand up. God bless you. Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, 1-877-532-5797, or message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Tricia saying congratulations, Dominique. Dominique won her Tony for being executive producer of the Broadway play Sunset Boulevard, and her Tony Award arrived at the office, so I put it on Instagram. Show you Tricia stays on top of everything. She's on the board. That means she follows our postings. And we are going to the phones. It's Hot Button Monday. I'm joined by the esteemed, and some of y'all saw he was on the show Saturday night, and it always amazes me how people underestimate how bright people are and how committed they are. But Antoine Seawright is both and we are certainly blessed to have him as part of our leadership and thought leadership in our community. And of course, he co-hosts every Monday to kick off our week, and we're glad about that. He's the Democratic strategist and founder and CEO of Blueprint Strategy LLC. Antoine Seawright. How you doing, Antoine?
Monday to you, Reverend Al.
Now, let me tell you something.
It was good to be with you this weekend.
Good to have you with us always. I want you there often. Let me give you some guidance. I'm going to Miss Eunice, and we have a whole screen full of callers. But one of the things you learn when you're out here a while, like I have, is some people play games, and especially when they can think they can. So we had a guy who just tries to be a disruptor, and I don't know if he's with Trump or just whatever. They called it, we banned from the show, and then he calls back in. He's on now. He's under the name of Rod, and I told him to keep him up. I'm going to bring him up because we've traced his phone number so we can hand it over to the authorities because he's playing games with FCC. So bring Rod up. Rod?
Hey, how you doing, Reverend?
Yeah, I know who you are. You're not Rod. So don't do that
this is
to
Rod.
us. Oh, okay.
Excuse me?
Go ahead. What did you call for?
Yeah, yes, this is Rod. Listen, I'm in the hood, right? I stay in Detroit. And my thing is this. I'm all for police reform, but guess what I'm for? First, criminals being held accountable, stopping the criminals. I agree. I really don't agree with Donald Trump on 99% of anything, but I agree. You've got to send in those troops to get these cities under control. I'm in the hood, Reverend Al, and I see how these people
how
act.
does sending
Like,
in the
they act
troops
like
how
fools.
women how does sending in the troops stop the hoods? First
Okay,
of
so
all,
this is-
first of all,
You asked me a question, Reverend. I was going to answer. Go
I'm
ahead.
finishing the question.
Okay,
First
sorry.
of all, the National Guard he's only sent into Washington has not gone anywhere near the hood. So you are illusionary if you think if he sent them to Detroit. All right, if you interrupt me one more time, I'm going back to the next caller. You call me, you say something, I'm questioning what you say, and you're going to interrupt me while I'm talking? That's not fair.
I'm trying to clear up what I said.
Well, you cleared up after I repeat what you said. You said in the hood. They are not in the hood. They are down in the rich part of Washington. Nobody in the hood has seen the National Guard. If they come to Detroit, they're not going in the hood. So saying that it will stop people in the hood is illusionary.
Okay, now let me clear this. Let me clear up what I'm saying, Reverend, because you're one of my icons. Trust and believe me, and we're on the same team. Here's the thing: when I say to the hood, whether they start from the suburbs and pretty much get to the hood, so be it. If I was the president right now, I would send them to every part that needs to be put in control, and then from there, once they leave, I would help to make tougher sentencing, tougher laws. These people are out of control, some of these dudes, Reverend Al. And you know what? You being my icon, I really look up to you, but I'm disappointed in the fact that sometimes you don't talk about how we have to stop these individuals.
Well,
in these
then
neighborhoods.
you haven't
And some
heard
of
me
them-
talk.
and
I
some of
talk
them-
about that all the time.
Go ahead.
We do that all the time. But first of all, I think that it is too much to say that they can start in the suburbs and then come in the hood. He's not said that. They're not going to do that. And if you believe that, you believe it. I do not believe it. He's not talking about straightening out no laws. He's not talking about sending anybody anywhere. First of all, they're unarmed. They just was able to arm some of them in Washington. They're unarmed. They're not going in the hood. National Guard is not trained for law enforcement like that. But I
Can you hear
appreciate
me, Reverend Al?
Go ahead.
I think it's a start. I think it's
How?
a start.
It's window
You start
dressing.
there.
It's window dressing. It's window dressing.
But it's a
It's
start,
showboating.
and
It
then
is not
if-
starting
and if-
anything
and
but a
Democrats-
distraction from what he should do is sit down with these
I
mayors.
disagree.
Wait a minute. He should sit down with these mayors and say, now, how do we work together to bring this down. They took $1 billion out of the budget in Washington, D.C. They are stripping them of their resources. He doesn't want to work with them. He wants to make them appear like they don't want to do nothing. Took $1 billion out the budget and then took over without ever talking to the mayor. How you going to get them to work together when he won't even talk to them, castigating? And then over the weekend going to attack Governor Westmore, talking about I'm going to stop the money for the rebuilding of the bridge that they had the accident on if y'all don't do what I want. How's that bringing down crime? Come on. Rod,
So,
you
Reverend
better
Al,
than that.
us as Rod, some of us as Democrats, we need to start trying to team up with this guy so we can at least get that agenda taken care of.
Well, how you
Start
going
with
to
the
team up
National
with
Guard,
somebody against
send
us?
a message.
How you going to team up with somebody that's on the opposite team telling you I'm here to defeat you? You can't. You can't do
I don't
that.
agree with him 99%. I don't agree with 99% of the time, but he's correct about trying to send
How?
those guards in there
But you
to get
keep
stuff under
talking and
control.
say how
Something
the
has to be
guards
done.
have not come in and solved nothing. The guards have come
Not
in. So we supposed to wait to by and by when the morning comes. Why don't he put the money back in there? The mayor in Washington, Mayor Bowser, had brought crime down by 20-something%. Why would you take the money if she was headed in the right? All right, let's go to the next call. He keeps interrupting me. He could have restored the money and had a meeting with her. He's not trying to bring down crime. He's trying to say to the rich, I'll protect y'all with some window dressing. I mean, Antoine, this is not even that serious if you're talking about really dealing with crime.
Well, Red, we know it's not serious because there's a blueprint for dealing with crime. When Joe Biden wanted to deal with the Safer in Communities Act, which most people talk about it being the first piece of major gun legislation in 30 years, but what people don't talk about is the details. That piece of legislation, bipartisan, you know what it did? It put money into local government for them to deal with crime from a crime prevention standpoint, and also to keep people from going to jail and to get people out of jail for things they should not be serving. And as a direct result of that, and this is not the gospel according to Sharpton or Seawright, this is the gospel according to the truth, crime is down in all major cities around the country, in particular those who took advantage of those federal funds that were allocated to deal with it. What happens when Trump comes in office? One, he cuts back most of those programs, and two, he then freezes those funds that go to those cities who were trying to bring crime down and had real efforts to continue to bring crime down, and now he wants to make a mockery of Washington, D.C., Chicago, and others, as I said on your TV program, Saturday, Rev, specifically because it's easy to pick a fight for his base with black, and this is a part of his political rehabilitation thing. Immigration, crime, and race are the three-legged stool he stands on when he's in trouble with his base, and that's what he's trying to do. Pick a fight in terms of and criminalize crime. Put color on crime.
And that's all he's doing. On the message board, Olive Daly Latefoot says, "Hi, Rev. How are you? Just saw your program. Well, thank you." Sheila Tyson, now that's a warrior if there ever was one, says Alabama is all in, and when she says it, she means it. Trisha's saying the goal is to get us comfortable with military patrolling our streets before he reveals his real agenda of military control. Trisha, flesh and blood did not reveal that to you. That's biblical. I believe you're more right than any of us want to face. Let's take a break. Be right back. Sharpton, Seawright, Hot Bun Monday, right after this.
I got a Tony.
You got it? My daughter won a Tony Award.
That's crazy.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
I had a thought this morning that I want to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors, but there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones, who became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talents in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me with other things. They'll come and help me once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. And they were not going to impose themselves on me. Why am I saying that? Because too many mentors want clones, and too many mentees want their mentors to put them on a pedestal. Oh, so-and-so didn't do this for me. Oh, so-and-so didn't open doors for me. If they got to open doors for you, it may mean that they knew you weren't ready to go through those doors. Their job is to prepare you. Your job is to develop your own skills, your own unique ways. And I don't care if it's my daughters, who both have come into their own, or anyone else. I'm not a talent agent. I did not form National Action Network to give people their step up. I formed it to fight for justice for everybody. If talented people get in, it's my job to invest and give them a platform. It's their job to get on the platform and perform and show their ability. Sitting with me today in the office as I talk about is one of my mentees, Reverend Stephen Marsh. Now, Stephen, you just came around us when you were how old?
11 years old.
11 years old. You just turned 40 and now you're called to the ministry?
Yes, sir.
And what do you do in National Action Network?
I formulate policies, lead in various regions, but most importantly, I senior advisor to you on all things from social justice strategies, politics, intergovernmental affairs, you name it, community organizing, all of that stuff.
And I could go through scores of others. My daughter started Huddle. They got Huddles now, which is for young people to meet once a week all over the country. I just saw the video from the Las Vegas National Action Network chapter. Now, when you decided to preach, did I ever tell you to become a preacher?
Not one time.
Who called you to preach?
The Lord.
All right. And did I say go to this school or that school?
No, sir.
Did I open this door, that door? Did I tell you be ready when the doors open?
Always be ready and prepared.
And that's what I'm saying. Get you some young people than you that you can help along the way. But don't be their talent agent. Their talent must speak for themselves. And anybody that grumbles with you about so-and-so didn't do something for them, maybe it's because they didn't feel you were ready, or that they felt if they did it, you wouldn't do it on your own. But we all don't live forever. I want the next generation to speak of me, of National Action Network, and others, the way I speak of Reverend Jones and Bishop Washington and Shirley Chisholm and Reverend Jackson. But I just don't want young people to feel that somebody ought to give them the reins of leadership or give them the reins of business or whatever it is you're in. You need to learn from their journey, get the pearls of wisdom from them, but don't have them do for you, because then it means you can't do it for yourself. Oh.
I got a Tony.
You got it? My daughter won a Tony Award.
That's crazy.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Reverend Sharpton, president of National Action Network. August 28th, 1963, there were many that gathered in Washington for the historic March on Washington. And many of us grew up hearing the speech Dr. King gave that day, I Have a Dream. But in that speech, he talked about America giving the Negro, blacks, a check that is bounced in the bank of history. So this August 28th, Thursday leading into Labor Day weekend, we that usually go to Washington to commemorate, we're having the Memorial March on Wall Street. Why are you going to Wall Street, Reverend Al? Because the people that have benefited from the check bouncing on Medicaid with this big, beautiful bill that took SNAP from people that need food assistance, they're on Wall Street, trading every day, doing the stock market every day. When is the last time we've had a mass march, nonviolent but determined, right there where they know, we know who you are, and we will not support the companies that undermine and finance our being disabled.
I'm your host,
National
Reverend Al Sharpton. Let's go right to the phone this Hot Button Monday. My dear friend, the beloved Miss Eunice in Chicago, Illinois. Miss Eunice, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and C-Rack.
Well, good afternoon to you and to Antoine. You know, Reverend, it was rumored, but today I heard a MAGA black woman say they did ask Trump to come to Chicago and clean up the crime according to a report. And this has been in the works for some time. And January 6th was a crime. What did Trump do? Sit there and he watched it on TV. And Trump is really abusing executive power. And I never heard of any other president doing this. And no rhyme or reason for this is just accept what he wants And Putin has the nerve to talk about mail-in votes, and Trump is going along with that. And I was just thinking, Rev, you run with all the young folks like me, Antoine and Jennifer Jones Austin. And tell C. Wright I'm not flirting, but he's good to look at. and one final thing, Tom Holman is a despicable person. He talks like a gangster. He talks down to people.
Yeah.
And thank you for taking my call, and I'll talk to you next time.
Always glad that you kick off the week. And yeah, Jenny Jones Austin, our vice chair of the board of NAN, who does this show on Thursdays, our policy wonk. I had her on the show last night. She did a great job. Let's go to Brother Jacob in Philadelphia, WURD. Jacob.
Hey, peace be unto you, Reverend Sharpton and Brother Antoine and your listening audience, man. You know, first of all, Reverend Al, to your lovely daughter, Dominique, I say congrats, because I know she earned that, you know. A lot of people think that when black people get recognized for something, that everything is that, what is that, DEI or whatever them letters they say that they brought up. But no, we earn our stuff, and that's the bottom line. But, you know, I like what you, that caller that spoke about these troops. And you remember Trump said before he got elected, yeah, if you vote from this time, you won't have to vote no more, right? See that martial law thing. And notice he's picking where, because he know blacks, once we see this thing really going down, and some of us going to have to, you know, we ain't going out like that. So he'll already have the troops and martial law, and he'll probably call off the vote. All that crazy stuff that was in 2025 that he claimed he didn't know anything about, okay? So, but here's the thing. Biden, if Biden would have did just last week or so, you remember when somebody stopped the shipment to the Ukraine, the weapons, and it was stopped. And in an interview, they asked Trump about it. He said he didn't know anything about it, right? And that in the same almost voice, I mean, sitting right there, then he said that they asked him, well, after you knew it, he said, well, I didn't pay no attention to it. You mean, who's in charge? You know, you talk about this Hot Button Monday. There's so many hot buttons. I would ask, who is in charge, man? You know, you don't know who did it, who stopped the shipment. You sat there and said it, then you thought about it. Well, I would be the one that this and that. But you just said you didn't know. See, when you're a liar, you know, you just don't even know what lies you told, you know. But, you know, anybody that's seeing what they see, we see the beginning of a fascist dictator type government, okay? We see in what it looks like, what it feels like. And I heard the caller where you was trying to help the brother that was, we should, in other words, get with him and try to, wait a minute. How could any Jew get with Adolf Hitler and work with him about what? To help kill his people as he planned to do? That certain things sound ludicrous, man. But this Constitution, man, if anybody, and I'm talking about millions of people died for this Constitution, right? I'm talking about wearing all labels, right? Americans that love this freedom, this democracy, in the world wars that we've had already have given their lives for this, right? And every hypocrite that in politics that took an oath to God to protect this thing against enemies, foreign and domestic, yet they support what Trump is doing, his unqualified cabinet top to bottom, starting with him. I mean, if we don't open our eyes and start fighting like you're going to be doing in the American people on Thursday, man, look. And then, Reverend Al, we got to keep our eyes on the Epstein files, right? you know, he don't want us to see that. He wants us to forget about it. The Epstein files is what he's doing, all this stuff so that we fall asleep to it.
Yeah, well, I think that they're flooding the zone every day, trying to get a new 2 stories out there so people will forget about Epstein, which makes one feel there must be something there. Because why is he panicking so and doing, I mean, just crazy stuff. 1 minute he's dealing with Yelensky, next minute I'm giving him 2 weeks, I'm pulling out. I mean, all kind of stuff. I think that there's something there. I don't know what it is, but I think there's something there in them Epstein files. Let's go to Tommy.
The only thing he ain't.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go. I thank you, Rev. Thanks.
All right, go ahead to Tommy in Chicago. Tommy.
A pleasant afternoon to you, Reverend Sharpton, and especially to you, Mr. Seawright, and of course your lovely daughter. She knows how I feel, so I'm not surprised. Actually, Rev, this is about a wonderful opportunity to say to all of our youth who are out there, who are accomplishing amazing things, which the first thing is that you believe in yourself and you know who you are and whom you are. This is that moment in time for you to recognize and understand that every word of God is true, and it doesn't matter whether you believe or not, because all you got to do is look at these times, the realities of these times. No one can say somebody is calling wolf. No one can say somebody has come to the microphone to scare you in one direction or another, because the preamble says, we the people, in order to form a better government, voted for lawlessness. So now where are we now? Now I talk to the same minister who begged and pleaded all the way back with the Koch brothers. I'm listening to this young man who articulately is coming. I've listened to everyone who's had the opportunity to be on that side with you. I've come to the places where you've been, Reverend Al Sharpton. I called this radio station and I said, if there ever was a time for black people to do the one thing that they are not expecting us to do, why don't you just stop and be still? And then guess what? For all of us who believe in assurance, all that's happening right now, it's clearly been shown what and who these rats are. Absolute, unequivocal rats who have never stopped even until this moment right now. You're supposed to be a minister. And I never laughed so hard in all of my life. Anybody trying to do anything. And here in Illinois, Rev, the one thing I've learned to get from you is that I don't have to spew, next day, this and that and the other. But Rev, I ain't got to tell you what you already know, what anybody who has any sort of sense would know about right now. Everything you thought could not happen, including these individuals with the new race in space to put a nuclear reactor on the moon. Are you crazy? Have you lost all kind of consciousness? This is for real. This is not Saturday Night Live. And there's no one more eloquent to do this or deal with this than you. Because once they did what they did to Joy Reid, once they have done what they have done to anyone who's out here speaking reality, the problem is, Rev, what you said in your message as I close. Wilderness individual. I mean, Orson Welles, War of the World. People, Skip Tommy, look it up for yourself. This is real. Look what he did. With the rate, all he did was talk to people and they went crazy. Now we sitting around here acting like we going crazy and not understanding. All you need to do is be still. So it's supposed to be crime, be still. And then why don't you start thinking something more than yourself? Pick me up when I'm down. Put my feet on solid ground. Make my life more worthwhile. I want brighter days. And it starts with the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. And I'll leave you with that. And ain't know how dumb can you be. And ain't know how insanity are you. I mean, really, man. It ain't really, man. I mean, you just can't make none of this up. You can't laugh. This ain't being fun. I stopped drinking, smoking, whatever you want to call it. And then I sit up here and have to listen to this. And all you can say is DAME. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
All right. Thank you, Tommy. Let's take our break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, Seawright. I'm coming to everybody. Keeping it real.
God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me.
and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body. If he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepping to the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God doesn't smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. One more time. I want to say real song. I say God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Pick it up. God has smiled on me. I feel it. Then I went on by backstage at the Apollo Theater and I saw a man come out. They call him the King of Soul, James Brown. And James Brown said, Reverend, don't you worry. I started out as a shoe shine boy. I started out as a convict. I started out uneducated. But I learned to sing my song. And I sung it all over the world. I told him it was a man's world. I told him about the big payback. I told him Papa got a brand new bag. And all over the world, they can hear my voice. But Reverend, don't you frown. Don't you bow your head. Tell him what you told me, Brother Brown. I said, now God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Yeah. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I went home and I told my mother what Brown told me. And she said, son, even though we don't have much, we don't need relief. All we need is belief. And she said, he didn't tell you no lie, because the Lord will take care of you. God sits high, but he looks down low. And every time you get discouraged, every time you're burdened down, all you have to do is think of the things that God made a way for you and look toward the heavens. Lift your eyes to the hills and say, God, 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 don't smile on me. Now then, the God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. That has been so good to me. Yes, he has. I say, God smiled on me. He has set me free. And I know all over the country, smile on me. We need jobs. We need a way to make it. We need help. We need jobs. We need a way to make some money to feed our families and raise our bread. We need a way to survive, so we don't need crime as a survival kit. We just need a little bit. But don't give the hope up. Don't lose the faith, because God will smile on you. God will give you the strength. God will make a way for you. Adam Clay Powell said, keep the faith. Keep the faith, baby. I hear Robert Kennedy saying that it's not the dream of, but it's the dream that'll live on forever. Just know that God will smile on you. Dr. King had a dream. Dr. King said, I went to the mountaintop, but I didn't stop there. I looked over and saw the promised land. I hear Brother Malcolm saying, don't sit on the stoop. Stand up and be a man. Respect yourself. Be somebody. Then I hear the brothers in the Hispanic community say, I'm going to stand up and be a man. I'm going to do the best I can. I had a reaper say, I don't care what time it was years ago, and we can still make it. We can still hold on like Frederick Douglass did. We can still keep him on like Martin Luther King did. We can still ride on the way everyone that made it did. They didn't have much, but they had a whole lot of faith. They didn't have money, but they had a lot of determination. We know that God will look out for his children, that God will make a way out of no way if you just keep the faith and refuse to lose. And God will make a way, because God's children don't have color. God's children just have will. And I can still hear somewhere in my mind James Brown say, God has smiled on me, and he has set me free. Let me sing here. Yeah, Lord. Yeah, Lord. Yeah, Lord.
Of course, the presidential preference calendar is always in the conversation. A number of resolutions will be discussed. But these these DNC meetings are really about kind of trying to making sure our infrastructure is in place and getting people to talk again. And I think that's what we're missing in this party, getting people to talk again. We do a lot of shucking and jiving on social media. We do a lot of talking at each other, but we don't always talk to each other. So I hope that will come out of it. But I also hope that we will come to grips that the challenge ahead of us is certainly more difficult than the challenge behind us. While 2024 was certainly a challenging time, and we, quite frankly, got outvoted. I don't think there's any other way to describe it. But the challenge ahead of us to make sure that we limit their power and participation going forward is far more greater than I think the challenge was behind us, and I hope we come to some resolve on that. And, Reb, the big question I have for I think our party leaders and those who are in the DNC infrastructure from an in-charge standpoint now is how do we deal with the registration gap? What are some of the answers going to be to the questions we have about the money gap, and making certain that we're one band, one sound on how we deal with local elections that will be on the ballot in 45 states, 100,000 of them around the country, November of this year.
No doubt about it. Also, I'm concerned that there's talk about changing the calendar back, where we had changed the calendar where the primaries and caucuses started in Iowa, then went to South Carolina, and on and on. Now they're talking about, some guy was on with me this morning on Morning Joe, saying that they must have put back New Hampshire, which would be, in my opinion, a very tactical mistake and offensive to a lot of voters.
Well, I would just say this, and not just because I'm from South Carolina, but just the proof is in the pudding. First and foremost, every candidate who's won the South Carolina primary since 1992, with one exception, has gone on to be our not party's nominee and the presidency. And that's one exception, 2004, when neighboring son John Edwards won the primary, but was still on the ticket that year. Second of all, I would tell you that 62% of the people who participate in the Democratic preference primary are African American. That is reflective of not only the Democratic Party base, but I think what we need to win elections up and down the ballot. Thirdly, I would tell you that South Carolina's geographical mix of urban, rural, suburban, I think is certainly has been reflective of the terrain post-South Carolina. And then finally, Rev, I think you know this from a historical standpoint, according to National Geographic's, 51% of every African American in this country can trace at least one ancestor back to South Carolina. So when you talk about the last being first, I think it's important that we have reflective representation. Now, I say that to say it doesn't matter to me. Of course, I want South Carolina first, but I do think that if we are not the first, we certainly need to be in the top two. And if Nevada happens to be first, I'm fine with that because they have a growing Hispanic population, a growing Asian population, and definitely a decent-sized African-American population. And then you come to South Carolina. So, and that gives you the West Coast, and then that gives you the East Coast. So I'm certainly for if we slip to number 2, only behind Nevada. But I think to go backwards, with with New Hampshire being first, I think it does a disservice to the progress we made in our party.
Let's go back to the phone. Let's go to Demetrius in Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio. WERE, Demetrius.
Hey, thank you, Reverend Sharpton. Hope everything's going good for you and Mr. C. Wright. Yeah, I just want to speak fastly concerning the Democrat meeting they're having in Minnesota. Hopefully, they would screen out the Democrats, who's not forceful enough for what Donald Trump's trying to do and some Republicans trying to do, with democracy in this country, and put some fire on some Democrats to really stand up. Don't just leave it up to Cory Booker and some other ones to really filibuster. It would take the whole Democratic Party to really stand up, because Republicans, most of them are standing up what they're doing with the gerrymandering and with the way they're treating the immigrants here, and also other groups of people here. And also concerning Mr. Garcia, they're arresting him again, so they're going to send him to Uganda. But I can understand it was illegal for him to be sent to El Salvador. How can it be legal for him to be sent to another nation outside of this country without having a fair trial? And when it comes to
just on that point, I'll let you finish. Mm-hmm. I think that they made the mistake with Garcia. Send him where they weren't supposed to send him. Had to get him back. And now they punishing him for them embarrassing themselves with his mistake. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. But when we all understand how immature and how, just totally adolescent that this president and his inner circle behaves as, I was not surprised. I'm outraged by it, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I agree, because it is something, just a reflex reaction without them thinking it through. But then I look at his administration been getting away with so much, going back to January 6th, assault on the Capitol, that he have the audacity to think, well, I can do what I want to, I can get away with it. And that's our station, because in California, do it policy and what people got to realize, especially in the black community, people wanted the government to arrest people during the Bill Clinton administration. Then later on, they were complaining that people were being swept up, being given outrageous sentences in prison. So it'll be the same situation. But if you don't have no sympathy for the immigrants you're arresting, some of them are innocent being swept up, you're going to realize what you don't have no sympathy for those he sweep, or if he was to come to the black community, and arrest people. You're just going to sweep them up, put them in prison. The people, relatives, will be in prison for a long time. Some innocent people that have to go through the criminal justice system to prove that they're innocent. It's going to cost a lot of money for them to prove that they're innocent.
Oh, yeah.
So people have to think ahead. They got to be careful for what they ask for. And also, over the weekend in Gaza, Netanyahu, he want to deny what the United Nations said. If he continue his assault in Gaza like he want to, completely rid Gaza, any type of Hamas, it's going to be a more severe famine than what's going on now. But yet he don't want to admit it. Also, a hospital was bombed there. So, it's very important as well, because he wouldn't be doing this if he felt that the United States administration not backing him up, with what's going on there. But innocent people is starving there in Gaza, because Donald Trump, he say a lot of things, but he won't pull no funds from the Israeli government. He pull the funds, they would stop doing that.
Oh,
but
yeah, he's not going to pull anything from Netanyahu. No doubt about that. Yeah. Let's take a break. Be right back. Sharpton, C. Wright. Hot Button Monday. Be right back.
Dr. Martin Luther King was killed in Memphis, Tennessee. And it has been the commitment of National Action Network to always, in the month he was killed, to let them know they killed the dreamer.
Because I have a dream today.
When they came from the dream. One year ago and change, 67 weeks ago, we started marching every Thursday, am I right, on the offices of Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman was the architect of ending DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. He started it. I want to give a little history because a lot of people get Negroitis and get confusion. I don't even mind your ego. Everybody need one, but you don't have to become contrary and duplicitous. We got to have integrity even among those with ego. So we started when they first came out against DEI. Now Ackman and them started it going to Harvard University, forcing out the first black woman and first black president of Harvard. We went to his office and been going 67 weeks. I went first 10, 12 weeks. And this brother, stand up, Reverend Ron McHenry, coordinator House of Justice. This brother has been there every week. Many of you here in the audience have marched every week. So we didn't just get in this. We were in it the day they came at Claudine Guy. Last year's convention, we dealt with DEI. This year we said that we're going at these corporations that had come out against DEI. Many of you, most of y'all I'm looking at was at the convention. And we hit Pepsi. Pepsi called and said, all right, we 8-9 days in, we agree to meet. And we went, purchased New York, chairman of our board, Reverend Dr. W. Franklin Richardson, and Carol Wallace, who's a special advisor to us on finance, and laid out to them that one, we don't care what you call it, DEI, IED. Y'all are gonna keep your commitments in terms of the black community. And that means we don't want special privilege, but we do not want to be specially excluded. This is not about we don't want merit. We feel if our people are at the table, we can beat anybody on merit in many cases. So we want from employment to your board, to how you deal with marketing, to who does your financial investment. We want to go across the board with that. Otherwise, if you don't want to deal with the question of diversity in how you do your business, then don't deal with diversity in your consumer base, because you don't believe in diversity. So we just will try to remove all the dollars we can from buying your stuff. In fact, I told the chairman, maybe the chairman of the board, maybe the CEO, I said, in fact, I learned that not from growing up civil rights, I learned that from Donald Trump. So what do you mean?
I said Donald Trump said he's gonna redo tariffs, that if he doesn't get what he wants for the country, they were gonna raise the tariffs. I'm doing the black tariff reverse. If we don't get what we want, I mean, y'all can't be for Trump and tariff and not be for us in the African American community with a tariff. Hi, I'm Reverend Al Sharpton, president of National Action Network. August 28th, 1963, there were many that gathered in Washington for the historic March on Washington. And many of us grew up hearing the speech Dr. King gave that day, I Have a Dream. But in that speech, he talked about America giving the Negro, blacks, a check that is bounced in the bank of history. So this August 28th, Thursday leading into Labor Day weekend, we that usually go to Washington to commemorate, we're having the Memorial March on Wall Street. Why are you going to Wall Street, Reverend Al? Because the people that have benefited from the check bouncing on Medicaid with this big, beautiful bill that took SNAP from people that need food assistance, they're on Wall Street, trading every day, doing the stock market every day. When is the last time we've had a mass march, nonviolent but determined, right there where they know, we know who you are, and we will not support the companies that undermine and finance our being destabilized. Join me, the National Action Network, and Martin Luther King III, August 28th, 10 a.m. We're going to march from the African burial ground just 1 mile to the Bull in the middle of Wall Street and have our rally. I want the faith community particularly to be there. Dr. King always built from the church. We need to be a witness in these times. People say, Reverend Al, I'm tired of marching. I say, what's the last march you've been to? Most of you've never marched. This is your time to show up and stand up. God bless you.
Come on.
A lot of our ministry to entertainment. Or who can hoop the loudest, who can run around the pulpit more, or who got the dresses fancy, and don't deal with the ministry. Jesus healed more people than he preached to. Because there is in the healing your message. They followed Jesus because he healed a woman with the issue of blood. They followed Jesus because Jesus saw a blind man named Bartimaeus. A lot of us would have dismissed him because he was a broke, poor, homeless, a blind man. How you know he was broke, Reverend? Because they say he was begging. But he understood what he was doing because he heard that Jesus was passing by. And when Jesus got close enough, he said, Jesus, son of David, come see about me. They kept telling Jesus, let's go, look, we got a schedule, we got people to see. He said it again, Jesus, son of David, come see about me. And when he did it the third time, Jesus stopped and went and healed the blind man. Now, what I get out of that scripture, Bishop Daughtry, is that the blind man told Jesus, if you are who you say you are, you're going to stop and see me.
Yes, sir.
And if you stop and see me, you will confirm who you are.
Yeah.
But when we are pastoring and leading in communities with bad health, we cannot be the followers and representatives of Jesus and walk by people that are sick and we not be part of making them well.
I got a Tony.
You got it? My daughter won a Tony Award.
That's crazy.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Sharpton. Hot Button Monday. Antoine C. Wright is our co-host. Let's go to Deborah in Atlanta, Georgia. Antoine.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. Hi, Reverend Sharpton. Hi, Antoine. Antoine,
Hey.
I wanted to say to you, hi, how are you? I totally agree with you when you were talking about Donald Trump just goes with his base and starts talking, to get off the Epstein file, starts talking about immigration and black people. But I wanted to put something out here also, from the way I see things. Because when we say base, I think most people think that they're just Republicans. But in my mind, Republicans are not his base because you protect your base. And basically, with that big, beautiful bill, there are more Republicans that are going to be hurt than Democrats because the number one people in the world in the United States today are elderly white men and white women. They're the ones going to be losing their health care. They're the ones whose children, they don't take care of their people. They do not take care of their elderly parents when they get elderly. They're the ones in nursing homes. They're the ones that are going to suffer the most. So why it looks like it's really bad for us now, sometimes I wonder what's going on with this man, but he knows what he's doing. When I think of Donald Trump's base, I think of who he protects. Who are the individuals that you never hear him speak about? He never talks about them. Drug traffickers, human traffickers, and murderers. You do never, ever hear him speak about that. But if you're really a president and you were really going to go after crime, you will go after the top crimes in the United States of America. And those are the 3 crimes that I just gave you. The top 10 states that are highest in murder rates, 8 of them are Republican states. For example, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi. He ain't talking about that. He's talking about a petty crime of somebody stealing a car, people. Those are Donald Trump's base. And that's why he thinks he's walking around here on ice. Until these individuals have that same fear of not being able to walk to the store, to go to work, they're not being able to go to school, and having somebody walk up them covered with a mask on. Because think about it, people. Who walks around with masks? Criminals. They break in your home. What do they have? They have masks. They cover their faces. That's the same thing that ICE is doing. That's the same thing. That's a criminal mind. You have to think like a criminal to know how a criminal acts. And I can think like a criminal. Trust me. Reverend Sharpton, I told you that before. If he became president, all gloves are off. There is no, they're going to have to, I mean that. They're going to have to set levels to this thing. Donald Trump is a criminal. I don't care. I'm not saying this on the radio for people that you have to agree with me. I see him as a criminal. He has a criminal mind. That's why that lady is in a boot camp, y'all. He doesn't talk about drug traffickers, human traffickers, murderers. He doesn't. He goes after petty crime, and when he wants to distract people from Epstein files or distract people from what he's really doing, like he wants to control Washington. Why? Because he controls Washington. He can run the railroad. He can run Virginia, Maryland, New York, all of those things that you need, the seaport, to traffic drugs and to traffic people. This is my thought. This is how I see him. So I just want to put that on your mind when y'all keep talking about Donald Trump's base. And I really don't think that a lot of Republicans are still standing with them. How could you? I mean, when you look at it, when you really see where you're going with this big, beautiful bill. Like, honestly, people, white people, you are the number one individual in the world today, and you're elderly. This man is taking everything from you, everything. So I just want to put that out there. So even though I'm looking at everything that he's doing, until they get a dose of what they're giving out, and a lot of people always say, don't become like your oppressors. That's BS, because you're telling Democrats to do it now. You're telling the Democrats to do what the Republicans are doing. I've been saying this all along. When somebody is bullying you, when you give them back what they're giving to you, they do one or two things. They try to become your friend, or they leave you the hell alone. And that's just the way it is, people. And I feel very strongly about that. I don't. How do you two men feel about that? Because he's dealing with petty crime. He's talking about going to Chicago. That's petty crime in Chicago. We talking about drugs. We talking about human trafficking. We talking about murder rates. We hear about the murders in Chicago, but that's even gone down. He didn't talk about Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, the murder capitals of the world. So let's keep it real, people. That's his base. That's Donald Trump's base. He's got something else going on. And I think by bringing in the National Guard, one thing he's never going to do with America is turn America against our military. Those are our family. Those are our brothers, our sisters, and things like that. He's really trying to do that. He's trying to, like, persuade us against our own military. That's not going to work, people. I'm going to say it. We're going to have to get up in arms, people. And I don't care if nobody else says it. I'm saying it. You're going to have to fight. You're going to have to fight for your human rights and for rights of your neighbors and all around you, because what we're seeing now is just not going to stop. Marching is awesome. Like, I'm going to try to be with your march, Reverend Sharpton. Marching is a start. But people need to understand that that's just where we're starting at. If you see where this man's real base is, ask him, get some of these reporters to ask him about what is he doing about human trafficking? What is he doing about drugs? What is he doing about the murder rate? He never opens his mouth on those crimes. He's just putting stuff out here on crimes that, like, petty crimes. Somebody gets their car taken. He want to send some troops to Washington. No, that's to get us off the Epstein files, to stop us talking about molesting of children on an island with white men, people, white men his age. And so I just want to put that on people's minds when we're talking and we're looking at where we are today. You need to look at where you really are. Focus on making your community strong. Your commissioners, your neighbors, your county, focus on that and become, like, a lot of us you don't know your neighbors. You need to start getting to know your neighbors again. I don't know all my neighbors. The one thing I know where I live at, I know when we come out on July the 1st, I know I'm good right where I'm at. I know what they're working with over here. And I just feel like you need to get stronger with your neighbors, with your communities, with your commissioners in your district and in your state. I just feel like that. We talk about Donald Trump a lot, but I think while we're doing that, I think you need to unify.
I agree.
You need to unify. I heard you, Reverend Sharpton, I heard you saying something about they was making some where you only white people can buy houses. Who gives a freak? We need to know that. We don't want to buy no house there, but thank you for letting us know where you are, where we can come see you at. That's how I see things. Thank you for letting us know that.
All right, thank you, Noah. That's what Hot Button Monday. I want to hear it. Let's go to Wale in New York.
How you doing, Reverend Al?
Good. How you doing?
Pretty good. You know, Al, I just got a couple of things I want to say, and I hope the families of this young man are listening. That Diallo kid who was doing the DoorDash delivery at this after-hour club in Crown Heights, he was working. He was doing a job, delivering, I'm assuming, food, 3:30 in the morning. Now, I didn't even know after-hour spots still exist. This after-hour spot has had crime happen. They've had busts there and all kinds of stuff going on. So that means the city, maybe the council people, the police, they all know that this place exists. And so this young man, Diallo, goes at 3:30 to make a delivery, and the bullets are flying. He gets hit and he dies. His family needs to sue the city of New York. They need to sue for as much money as they can get. Money is not the issue, but the fact that the city knows that that place exists, that place of debauchery, 21-year-olds and 67-year-olds hanging out 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, sipping on gin and juice and all kind of things. He lost his life doing his work. So his family needs to sue the city of New York. Not only his family, but the young woman who got shot in the Bronx at a game. I don't think it was a Rutgers game, but it was a basketball game. They said the bullet, Reverend Sharpton, pierced through her brain, lodging in her eye. She's in ICU. The mother said
when did this happen? When did this happen?
This weekend, Reverend Sharpton. The young woman, there were like 4 shootings, something like 11 people hit. One died. That young lady died. It was in the Bronx, Reverend Sharpton. I can't tell you exactly where the park is, but it's all in the news. And her mother was saying last night on the news how there were no police. See, that's why they got to get these permits. We're New Yorkers. We don't need our district leaders. They ain't the only ones that can get permits. We can give permits to close streets, have these little parks. We may not get it closed the way we want to have it at a time that we want to have them. Maybe you want to have it next week and you can't get the permit for next week or whatever. But we're going to have to, in order to protect our children. That young girl, I think she's like 17 or 18. The bullet is in her head behind her eye. These families need to sue the city of New York. Don't let them get away with that, because we're New Yorkers. We should be able. That debauchery, after our spot, that boy Diallo, your family need to sue the city.
Yeah, I'm gonna reach out and see if we can find out what's going on there. I'm glad you brought it up. Thank you for your call. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, see right. Be right back.
Keeping it real. Of reference. 400 years later, it's time to do some assessing where we came from. While Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina, and Mississippi take the hits, the real trade market for commerce and cotton was New York, the port of New York. As a matter of fact, Joe, the first state to end slavery was Vermont. It was all the way up the coast. The big shipbuilders became rich off of our enslavement. Say our people are not slaves, they are our ancestors. They became slaves. The person, they're our ancestors, they're our foreparents. The money is made off of the commodity. We were the commodity in the commodity exchange. And they would import Africans. They export cotton and tobacco. And they built the whole economic system around Wall Street. Africans, because they feared the Indians would attack the Dutch, built a wall on Wall Street. That's where they named it Wall Street. It's the Africans, with logs and trees, they built a wall around Wall Street to keep the Indians from attacking the Dutch. So Wall Street was named after us. There's a burial ground on Wall Street, which we should all visit. Those are our foreparents. At some point, they moved us to the other end of Manhattan, which is Harlem. So we are on the same island as Manhattan. Manhattan, Harlem, Wall Street, on the same island. Harlem is right down the road from Wall Street. That's interesting that most of our leaders who argued different cases never quite got to march on Wall Street.
That was Reverend Jesse Jackson speaking at National Action Network's House of Justice in 2020, saying that we'd ignored dramatizing, putting the spotlight on the economic inequalities, the economic issues of this country by never having marched on Wall Street en masse. Well, on August 28th, 5 years later, we're going to do just that. Because with this big, beautiful bill, which is a big, ugly bill that cuts Medicaid and SNAP, with the ending of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and initiatives in the private sector, which gives blacks and others jobs, contracts for businesses, making sure we make the C-suite based on our merit and not excluded because we didn't have the family background in a given place, whether it be academic or business. The people that benefited from that are the ones on Wall Street that deal with the stock markets, that deal with the Dow Jones, that deal with making trade off of the decisions of those that supported the Trump initiatives in this area. So we are not this year going to Washington on the anniversary of the March on Washington. On the anniversary of the March on Washington, we're going to Wall Street. And Reverend Jackson, we're going to do what you said. Thousands of us are going to nonviolently but firmly come and say that the dream cannot be deferred by tax cuts for the rich and cutting those out that need food assistance, that need support with health care and other economic policies that have choked the middle class and the poor. August 28, 2025, go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, get the details. Meet us 10 a.m. at the African Burial Ground and be ready to march. Buses are coming from all over the country. Go to that website or call 1-877-626-4651. No justice, no peace.
Of reference. 400 years later, it's time to do some assessing where we came from. While Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina, and Mississippi take the hits, the real trade market for commerce and cotton was New York, the port of New York. As a matter of fact, Joe, the first state to end slavery was Vermont. It was all the way up the coast. The big shipbuilders became enriched off of our enslavement. Say our people are not slaves, they are our ancestors. They may be slaves to the person, but they are our ancestors, they are our foreparents. The money is made off of the commodity. We were the commodity in the commodity exchange. And they would import Africans, they export cotton and tobacco. And they built the whole economic system around Wall Street. Africans, because they feared the Indians would attack the Dutch, built a wall on Wall Street. That's what they named it Wall Street. It's the Africans, with logs and trees, built a wall around Wall Street, keep the Indians from attacking the Dutch. So Wall Street his name after us. There's a burial ground on Wall Street, which we should all visit. Those are our foreparents. At some point, they moved us to the other end of Manhattan, which is Harlem. So we are on the same island as Manhattan. Manhattan, Harlem, Wall Street, on the same island. Harlem is right down the road from Wall Street. That's interesting that most of our leaders who argued different cases never quite got to march on Wall Street.
That was Reverend Jesse Jackson speaking at National Action Network's House of Justice in 2020, saying that we ignored dramatizing, putting the spotlight on the economic inequalities, the economic issues of this country by never having marched on Wall Street en masse. Well, on August 28th, 5 years later, we're going to do just that. Because with this big, beautiful bill, which is a big, ugly bill that cuts Medicaid and SNAP, with the ending of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and initiatives in the private sector, which gives blacks and others jobs, contracts for businesses, making sure we make the C-suite based on our merit and not excluded because we didn't have the family background in a given place, whether it be academic or business. The people that benefited from that are the ones on Wall Street that deal with the stock markets, that deal with the Dow Jones, that deal with making trade off of the decisions of those that supported the Trump initiatives in this area. So we are not this year going to Washington on the anniversary of the March on Washington. On the anniversary of the March on Washington, we're going to Wall Street. And Reverend Jackson, we're going to do what you said. Thousands of us are going to non-violently but firmly come. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Antoine, there are some already speculating in media circles what role will former Vice President Kamala Harris play. I do not know if she's coming to this conference in Minneapolis, but I do know she's going on her book tour starting next month. And speculation of this, that, and the other, who may run in 28, whether she's going to run again since she opted out of the California gubernatorial race. Gavin Newsom's getting a lot of publicity, Wes Moore. You can address that, but one thing that comes to mind is something you and I discussed several weeks ago. The danger of this discussion is to act as though we don't have important elections this year in November. Mayoral races, including New York, some county races, some state races, and then the midterm elections on next year. And I think a lot of what this redistricting by Trump is really to stack the deck against the Democrats retaking the House. Talk about the importance of the two elections that are going to occur before 28, before we get off in our respective corners on who we want to run in 28.
Well, Rev, there are a couple of nuances to the redistricting conversation that I don't think the mainstream media is speaking to and about. The first one is that what a lot of states are pushing to do is to redo a mid-year census tract. And we know what that means for communities of color. We know that in his first administration, Donald Trump cut the budget for census workers and so forth. We also know that the current president has said that he wants to exclude undocumented immigrants into the census count. So you'll see a lot of conversation pick up, and it's happening quietly in conservative circles, but you'll see it pick up in the mainstream about while they're doing redistricting to also do mid-year census recount or counting. So that's number one. The second nuance is when places like Texas redistrict, they also redistrict state legislative lines. And in some places that would mean school board lines, in some places that mean city council lines, in some places that mean county commission or county council lines as well. And so we have to look at
state legislative
the entire
lines.
field.
And state legislative
That's right, the
lines.
state legislative lines. And we've got to look at the entire field when we talk about redistricting, because what most people do not know, and I learned this from a survey that went out, most people did not even know that state legislatures are the ones who redraw lines,
right?
Not the Congress.
Right.
And so that's why these state legislative seats are so important. The third nuance is, as it relates to the election, Rep, is that the 2025 elections are a down payment on 2026, 2027, and 2028. Why I say that? California is one of maybe a few states that will have ballot initiatives to deal with redistricting, and there will be some other ballot initiatives on the ballot and across the country and other places. You will have a record number of school board races on the ballot. Why is that important? This ongoing effort to sanitize and whitewash history is tied directly to that, as well as the firing or removal of black superintendents. The other thing that is on the ballot is a record number of African-American mayors in cities all across the country. Why is that important? Because Trump seems to want to mobilize and use forces in cities all across the country, and that's going to have impact on mayors. And if he were to play around with their funding, that's going to have impact on his mayors. The other piece is that in 45 states, there are 100,000 plus things on the ballot, Rep, and that includes state races in New York and Virginia. In Virginia and New Jersey. Why is that important? Again, the state legislature as well as statewide races, including 2 governors who could redistrict if they wanted to, and if we get the General Assembly in those 2 states. And then I think in Pennsylvania, there's a state Supreme Court seat. So everything about 2025 is a down payment or a tone setter for 2026. That's why the money raised in this moment is going to be critical, but also the organizing from the inside out. And I'm going to keep emphasizing that everywhere I go, the inside out, meaning, yes, the DNC and all the committees and that sort of thing, but supporting groups like NAN, NAACP, Urban League, sororities, fraternities, and all these people who have skin in the game, their organizing and their efforts are going to be just as important in 1925 as they were in 2025 as they were in 1965.
Let's go to Donald in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Donald, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and C-Rack.
Hey, how you doing, Rev?
I'm doing good.
Okay. It's hard to get through to you as far as the number. I know your number is 1-877-532-9757-5797, but it's a +1 in front of 1 on your number. So it's hard for me to get through at times because every time I call it, it goes to end call. So I was told, I think by you once time before, that's like an out-of-state number.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't know. I mean, I really
It's
don't.
been some time ago. But my main reason for this call is we got a lot of intelligent black people, which Trump don't realize that we are black people and we are intelligent. And he don't go on the intelligence of our people. He goes by this DNA. I don't see what this DNA has anything to do with the intelligence of our mind. But I listened to Michelle Bryan at 7 to 9 o'clock here in Milwaukee Central Time, and she has called to call in. One caller called in, and she was telling Michelle Bryan about this 7-year-old black girl, and she's getting ready to graduate from college at 7 years old. Now, if that's not intelligent, I don't know what it is. And last year, there was a 14-year-old black girl, she's getting ready to be a doctor, to operate on you. So there are intelligent black people, in our race, and Trump got to come to a realization that we are intelligent and get off this DNA.
Well, let me thank you for your call, Don. I think that my only response to that, thank you for your call, is that Trump can or cannot get off of this and realize there are intelligent people, black people, as you say. I think the real people that got to understand that is black people. We got to understand how intelligent and durable we are and stop letting people play us for a fool. Some things people are saying to us, they only would be accepted by people that are not thinking that they are intelligent. When you going to tell me that you're going to put National Guard in Washington and we find out you only putting them in the rich areas, then my intelligence tells me you playing me for a fool. When you tell me you're going in Chicago when you know good and well that Chicago is not like the federal setup in Washington and that there's all kind of legal claims there, you playing me for a fool. When you give me every city and the only black mayors, I'm intelligent enough to know what I'm looking at. So I'm not worried about what Trump thinks of us. I'm worried about what some of us think of ourselves. Let's take a break. Be right back. Sharpton, see right. Be right back. Keeping it real.
I got a Tony.
You got it? My daughter won a Tony Award.
That's crazy.
All right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
country talking to the radio announcers, the church people and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body. If he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepping to the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God doesn't smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. One more time. I want to say real song. I'll say God has smiled on me. shoe shine boy. I started out as a convict. I started out uneducated. But I learned to sing my song, and I sung it all over the world. I told them it was a man's world. I told them about the big payback. I told them Papa got a brand new bag. And all over the world, they can hear my voice. But Reverend, don't you frown. Don't you bow your head. Tell them what you told me, Brother Brown. And she said, son, even though we don't have much, we don't need relief. All we need is belief. And she said, he didn't tell you no lie, because the Lord will take care of you. God sits high, but he looks down low. And every time you get discouraged, every time you're burning down, all you have to do is think of the things that God made a way for you and look toward the heavens. Lift your eyes to the hills and say, God, 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 don't smile on me. Now then the God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. That has been so good to me. Yes, he has. I say God smiled on me. He has set me free. And I know all over the country, smile on me. We need jobs. We need a way to make it. We need help. We need jobs. We need a way to make some money to feed our families and raise our bread. We need a way to survive, so we don't need crime as a survival kit. We just need a little bit. But don't give the hope up. Don't lose the faith, because God will smile on you. God will give you the strength. God will make a way for you. Adam Clay Powell said, keep the faith. Keep the faith, baby. I hear Robert Kennedy saying that it's not the dream of, but it's the dream that'll live on forever. Just know that God will smile on you. Dr. King had a dream. Dr. King said, I went to the mountaintop, but I didn't stop there. I looked over and saw the promised land. I hear Brother Malcolm saying, don't sit on the stoop. Stand up and be a man. Respect yourself. Be somebody. Then I hear the brothers in the Hispanic community say, I'm going to stand up and be a man. I'm going to do the best I can. I had a reaper say, I don't care what time you come home, but just give me some respect when you get there. He has set me free. God, smile on me. You've been so good to me. Sit down. And as we move on in history, let us remember that if we look to God, God has the answer to all of our problems. God is still the same God he was years ago, and we can still make it. We can still hold on like Frederick Douglass did. We can still keep him on like Martin Luther King did. We can still ride on the way everyone that made it did. They didn't have much, but they had a whole lot of faith. They didn't have money, but they had a lot of determination. We know that God will look out for his children, that God will make a way out of no way if you just keep the faith and refuse to lose. And God will make a way, because God's children don't have color. God's children just have will. And I can still hear somewhere in my mind James Brown say, God
LULAC, largest Latin American organization, and Randi Weingarten of the American Federation of Teachers, both on the first part of the show. We're asking everybody to come with us. This is the first black-led major march since Trump been in, and we're going right where he gets his financial support from. Talking about his financial support, you that have not signed up, you got till 5 o'clock tomorrow. You can go online right now to nationalactionnetwork.net. Say, I want to come. Is there a bus near me? What is the information? Go to nationalactionnetwork.net, or you can go call the toll-free number 1-877-532-5797. Talking about Wall Street, again, Gloria, call the toll-free number. I see you on the message board, 1-877-626-4651. They tell you about Philly, wheelchair accessibility, all of that. Call the toll-free number right now, and they giving all the information. Because if I start doing one city, I'm going to have to do them all, and we got about 37 cities coming. Let me ask you this, Antoine. The fact that Donald Trump negotiated with Intel and forced them to give the government 10% ownership is another reason why we're going to Wall Street. The fact that he would, in essence, force a stake in Intel is outrageous. And it also, I said on Morning Joe this morning, that there was a time that I thought the Republican Party and the conservatives were against a strong government, national government. They wanted states' rights. And they were against government interference with business. Trump has done both. Trump is superseding mayors and governors with law enforcement, starting with Washington. And now he's making private sector, Intel, give a stake in the business of the government. I mean, talk about how this is the exact opposite of what Republicans and the conservatives have always represented to be their whole mantra.
To be a butter knife when I need to be. And last time I checked, when the government owns the means of production, that economic system is generally called socialism.
Right.
And that's what this is. And you talk about Intel, and you know, for people who need a slight history lesson, Intel came as a direct result of the Chips and Science Act passed by the Biden-Harris administration, thanks to Joyce Beatty and Congresswoman Shontel Brown and Marcy Kaptur and others in the Ohio delegation. But Trump came in and actually ripped infrastructure out of the legislation and put a cap on many of the things. So a lot of the necessities that Intel needed to not just thrive but survive were put on pause or taken away. And so it forced their hand to cuddle and play footsie with Trump. And now the government, this Republican government, who's anti-socialism on any other occasion, wants to cuddle and play footsie with socialism. And I think we have to call them out on that. The second thing is, I don't know if you saw the Commerce Secretary or the Treasury Secretary on CNBC today, but he said Intel is just the start of this. They are looking at other options in terms of exploring socialism. And so they have this system, Rev, that they implement all the time was good for me is not good for thee. And they criticize us for being democratic socialists and talk about socialism, yet they're implementing the same thing. The reason why that's dangerous is because not only are they trying to control the federal government, they're trying to control the private sector, which means that has impact on the black community, i.e. is what we're dealing with, what you're fighting with the March on Wall Street, what others are fighting with Target. They get to control what happens in the private sector. That's very dangerous long term for us.
And in the long term, they also dictate policy once they have a stake, like ending DEI, like dealing with issues of contracts and other things, because then they become co-owners and they begin to refashion the private sector around their political agenda, using taxpayers' dollars to do it, because the stake they are coming in is as government, not even private investors.
Well, none of that, Rev. And when it's time to give out the tax breaks and so forth, and they do that for these companies, you know who's going to benefit? Their shareholders.
Right.
Not our people who don't even know what sharing a whole means, but their shareholders are going to benefit. So it's a continued methodology of benefiting the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected. And when government is not in the business of regulating the private sector, that's just not what government does. Government is supposed to be for the people, by the people. And so how are you going to have a Republican-controlled government dealing with the private sector? What happens after Trump? What happens after this administration? These are serious questions that I think traditional Republicans must stand up and ask the question to, particularly when all their political careers they campaigned against this government overreach and too much government.
Let's go to Raj before we have to go. Raj in Cleveland, Ohio. You're keeping it real with Sharpton and C-Ray.
Hey, gentlemen, how you doing today?
I'm doing good.
All right, great, thanks. Yeah, I interpret what you and Mr. C-Wright talking about and explaining it. What I've been calling the takeover. They're trying to. That's the whole plan, to transform the government and the focus of the direction that they want to take this country in. So the transfer from the public sector to the private sector is a way to siphon all the money out of mainstream economy, which is attack on, always been what they were calling attack on the middle class, to go take those to the I'm not the Nazis, but the code words billionaires, oligarchs, what have you.
Wait a minute, you coming in muffled. Are you talking, Raj? Are you talking in the phone? Raj.
Hello?
Yeah, talking.
Hello?
Yeah, now I can hear you. You was muffled. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, they're all the same people. They just transfer the wealth from one side of the take all the money from the mainstream and transfer it over to the fringe. And now the fringe is in power, the seat of power. They're still the minority in terms of numbers, but they have the ink pen, the power of the pen, and back, by the military. And they're just using all these same terms that that the American people are familiar with, so they won't get alarmed. Many of them, a lot of us do see what's going on, but there's still so many that's saying, hey, that's just politics as usual. But really, they're transferring, they're undoing the American way of life, which is the democracy. And next thing you know, we under dictatorship with those that already had this plan in charge, and the rest of us are just at the bottom. And they did it all through terms of familiarity and, to throw people off. And, a lot of us caught on, but there's still too many that haven't. And then what C-Wright was saying, asking what are the Republicans going to do after Trump, that has been a question that's been floating around. I don't think, they don't have a plan for, at least Trump and the people that's got this plan in place. To them, they're going for broke. This is part of the insurgency. The war was declared even before that, before January 6th, but that was at least on the ground. That was the attack at the bottom level, and the rest is just through sophisticated maneuvers that we call politics and stuff. And, and I also had that one guy he was talking about, I guess he was from Detroit.
and he said it's good. I heard other people say, no, it's good that they bringing in the National Guard and all this stuff. And that shows you how sleep people are, because anybody that says they want to reimpose stop and frisk, call people on both sides of the Nazi march good people, tell a gang to stand back and stand by, a gang that was created with the mission of and the motto of attacking black people physically, the Proud Boys, and then want to take away your right to vote, which is killing your voice. And the guy has 34 convictions himself. How can anybody take him serious on him solving any of your problems or offering any real solutions to your problem? It shows you how people just have short memories, and they're not really paying attention, and they don't have the eye on the ball, and they don't have the focus. That's just show you how behind a lot of us are.
All right.
You know.
Well, thank you for your call. I hear the music. We're going to have to go. Let me thank Antoine C. Wright. Let me thank all of you that called in, listening, you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement.